Yep.
Yeah, that's all.
Started. All right, mate. Here we are. This is our podcast.
They don't want to be locked into a house or an apartment or some space.
Got to follow the social distancing rule.
More social distancing keeps more people healthy.
It's like, oh, you guys are good at talking shit. Why don't you just do a podcast? As soon as you try to do a podcast, we sound like a bunch of muppets. How are you boys feeling today?
Not 100%. I'll be honest.
I'm dusty. I'm
operating at a pretty low level as well today. So,
in general, how many days do you need to write off if you have a big night? I'm running at about 2 or 3.
It's good. See, the older you get, like, are you 30 yet, George? Yeah, you're 30 this year, eh?
Yeah.
So you'll be starting to feel the effects now, I reckon. Like once you hit 30, it's like an extra day's added to the hangover, I reckon, for sure.
But I remember with you, Jonsey, you probably got worse hangovers than anyone I've ever met. But then your remedy was to then back it up by launching straight into breakfast beers and going
I only did that like twice.
A week. You used to battle so hard with the hangovers. I remember, like, when we'd have like a big night at the Irish or something after the Welter, and then like you just wouldn't hear from Jonsey all day, and you'd walk past his house and the shutters are closed, and like you just know the aircon's on like 15 degrees, and then you just get a message from Jonsey at like 5 o'clock, like, oh, do you guys want to go play basketball, Tempin bowling or something?
But that's the thing. Back then, you could just shut it down. You could pull the shutters. You could sleep until 5, and you were guaranteed to beat whatever hangover was coming. Whereas nowadays, you can't do that.
Well, you can until you sign up for a podcast, and then someone says, "Oh, I've got a podcast to do," and you go, "Well, hold on, I was in the shutters down and the aircon on 15 degrees."
Mate, we didn't even launch last night. Like George and I, we just finished a big training week or a couple of big weeks, and we thought, oh, we'll have just a couple of pints last night. So that's really all we had. 6 pints, and but like normally I'd be all right. I woke up dusty this morning, man, and I was like, and when I got home from the pub last night, I was like, I'll prepare some content for the show today, mate. I can't even understand what I've written.
Yeah, the problem is the CBF brain, and then you get the post booze blues where you start. I always have these sort of motivational chats with myself at about 3 p.m. where you're looking in the mirror going, mate, where are you at? Where are you at? You don't need this. You don't need to go that hard. You should have stopped at 11 o'clock. You were already past the peak, and you had to keep going. You had to be the hero. One more beer, you're going to be funnier. But it doesn't work like that.
I learned something real interesting about Pills last night, and I reckon there's very little I don't know about him, but he filled me in on this real bizarre thing that he has, that he takes everything has to be in even numbers. So he couldn't drink 3 beers, he'd have to drink 4. And so even if
that's bullshit.
No, he's at one for each leg. Unless you never can drink 3. And I think back to it though, if you go for one, like often you go for like a Kanya, a small little beer at like 5 p.m. You day before a rest day, whatever, and just in the easy times. And I'll always have a Kanya, and he will always have 2.
Why is that?
You can't stand on one leg, and then we can, but I don't know. Like I think it's just an excuse. To be fair, like when I ordered the 5th pint last night, I was like, oh shit, I better have 6. Can't have 3 in one leg and 2 in the other. It's an excuse. It's a problem.
I remember another weird thing like that. I got in a car with Peter Weaning once, and the volume knob was on 21, and I took it to 24, and he slapped my hand. He said, "It is only on 21." Superstition. The volume knob has to be on 21.
So it's not an even, because I know Rowan Dennis has a thing where he can't have, I think he can't have like the volume knob on an odd number. It has to be in 24 or 26, or he has to take an even amount of steps upstairs, stuff like that. Like a real, what a bizarre thing to have a superstition about, a volume knob.
Yeah.
I used to have I'm not superstitious just when it comes to drinking, but when I was racing on the track team, I used to have these real weird superstitions. So like I wouldn't brush my teeth because like it came down to I pinpointed this one team pursuit I did that it was really good, and I remember not brushing my teeth that morning. So I went through this whole phase where I didn't brush my teeth.
The flying mullet's still doing that, I think.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't brush my teeth. I'd always wear the same socks, and they were these socks that had Oscar the Grouch on them. They were green. There's a photo of me racing the World Championships for a medal, and I've got these green socks on with Oscar the Grouch on them.
Do you walk them to the track, or you wear them on the bike?
Yeah, like my socks.
I didn't even know you guys wore socks. I thought TP riders or sprinters never wore socks. I thought that was
nah, we don't. This was real early in the days. I was like 18 years old at my first senior world champs or something.
Hey, what was just off topic? What was the wash up from the last step with the bell ends and you guys talking about the tour of Southland or whatever? What was the feedback?
We got
Gordy just saying he was pretty happy to make my team. That's about all I got.
Yeah, I got a message from Gordy saying he was pissed I didn't put him in my team. So I promised him some event that when I retire one day we'll get the dream team back together, and all the guys I race with, and I'll do a tour of Southland with Gordy. But he doesn't want to. We got the Legend of Ballin was interesting. It was pretty even split. It was actually 55. It sort of was swaying a bit. I was tracking it over the 24 hours that the poll was up, and it was sort of swaying either way a little bit. And then eventually it was 55% Legend, 45% Ballin.
Just for I actually genuinely cannot remember who the hell did we talk about?
Shane Warne.
Just one.
Yeah.
We must have had a big night that night as well.
No, I think I have amnesia. I have a thing where I've realised that I'm really, really bad memory, but I have to see somebody, I have to meet somebody 5 times before, because people say I remember faces and not names. I can't remember faces either. I went to a real estate agent the other day. We were looking at some places and stuff, and she's like, she was talking about to me, and she's like, compared to the other house you looked at, and I was like, how do you know I looked at the other house? And she's like, yeah, I was the agent. I was like, I was 2 weeks apart.
We last night we came up with some content for today, George. Remember, I came up with an idea, and you said, "Oh, that's good. Remind me because I'll forget." And then 5 minutes, I can't remember.
Good stuff, boys. Sounds like a real productive session.
Well, the reason this is that we're going to be recording with Daryl Impey today. But it's a real mission to line up 3 pro athletes with days off, which is essentially what you need to record this, because obviously we've got some time zones happening and so I think we've got him penciled in for later this week, right, Bills?
Yeah, so I've been in touch with Imps. He's keen to come on, and he is going to come on like we've promised. Luckily, I put a little clause on the Instagram post where I said we will be getting Daryl Impey on, but we don't know when because we couldn't organise a route between 2 horny rabbits. So there is a clause in there, thankfully, and he's going to come on this week. So we'll be recording with him later this week, and we'll publish that next weekend. So we needed to do something to fill a hole. So here we are, the Duff Bowl edition, 3 hungover.
But I had a quadrella yesterday. Do you know what that is? In horse racing, you put it's the winner of the last 4 races, right? And my uncle gave me a tip. He goes, all right, race 7, number 2. And I'm like, sweet. So I had the field in the first leg. That means every horse. And then number 2. And then I had these 2 horses in the next one and the field in the last. So every horse in the last.
But you put money on every horse.
Yeah, so you box them up, right? This is for all the gamblers out there. Anyway, first race to qualify, the roughest horse wins, which is perfect, paying $61. Then this number 2 that I like, it got up. And I start getting nervous because I'm thinking, far out, I got this thing for 37%. So whatever this quaddie pays, I'll get 37% of the total. Come to this race where all I need is one of these 2 to win. Like my bunghole started tightening up. You know, the kids are trying to talk to me, but Dad's on his mobile with a bead of sweat. And this bloody horse goes off the front and was about 8 lengths in front. I'm thinking, oh, that's going to die in the ass. This is great. My two start banging down the outside, and literally I got done by a bee's dick. This other thing beat me. And then the last leg, which I had every horse, something paying $50 one. Guess what the quadrella paid? $130,000.
Oh, bullshit.
So this potentially cost me $30,000 for like $100 bet. So Sarah's going to her sister's 40th that night. She's up and about. She's got her makeup on. I'm as flat as a shit Carter's hat. She's like, "What's up your ass?" I was like, "Oh, nothing, you know."
Daddy's got some gambling issues.
Just one of those days. I woke up this morning thinking, man, 30K, 30 grand. I could have, and then stupidly I went and watched the replay of that race. Just to put myself through more punishment.
Rake over the coals again.
Oh, I'll have to post the photo to our social account. It's horrific. 30,000 nose.
Then you woke up this morning and said, "Oh well, back to the day job." Shit podcast.
I almost messaged you guys and said, "Boys, it's just not a good day. I'm not up for it. I can't do this."
I don't think you would have
question,
found
though,
much resistance if you come in with that on a day like this.
30
How
grand.
do you not win if you choose every horse though?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. I don't understand how you can compete on every horse.
Okay, so you got to get the winner of 4 races, right? So I had every horse in 2 of the 4 races. So when you put every horse on, you get less of a percent. So it works out like if you've got, 400.
So therefore, you only have to pick the winner of 2 races.
If you have the horse in every field, but you'll have 420 different combinations. So that means to get 100% of whatever the quaddie pays, you'll have to put it on for $420. Whereas if you put it on for $100, which I did, you get a percentage. So you get like 25% or whatever. But 25% of 130 grand.
Oh, right.
Anyway. It's been one of those days, mate.
I'm feeling that.
Gamble
And then we've
responsibly, folks.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And then we've just reversed heavily into this show with
Hungover, lost 30K.
No content.
I don't care who you throw up today. They're a bell end.
I was going to throw up that Mother Teresa, but
Now, one of
throw that horse from race 4.
Yeah, should we do that? The horse from race 4, Legend of Bell End.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things we were going to talk about, Bills, was during the week I was listening to a few audiobooks. I only just started downloading that Audible. You know, that app where you can listen to books.
Yeah, but that's so expensive. I did a free trial and it ticks over, and I realized I had this weird charge of €20 a month on something. And I was like, what the hell is this, Audible? And they just keep charging you, and then it doesn't matter if you don't download anything, you just pay. So,
but can't you cancel it?
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a way.
They keep charging you because you haven't discontinued the service.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, I was listening to this book, and it was all about branding and all this other stuff. But one of the things they were talking about was a lot of sport groups do, particularly in Australia, this 360 review component as part of building culture. So they call it leading teams, and it's all about, like, say, if it's a footy club, the player will get up in front of the whole group, and then the whole group literally rip into this player and give him honest feedback on how they perform, what they do well, but they really dial up what they don't do well. And that's why I want to throw it to you boys. I don't know if that exists so much in cycling, but how do you go generally with feedback? Start with you, George.
Well, it's interesting because we're actually doing that right now. Like because it's like one of those times, we had all this time off and no racing. Normally it's hectic. You go to the classics and stuff and everyone's just doing full gas. But because we've had all this time on our hands, I've been using it as like a whole sort of idea. You know, it all comes from like you guys read Legacy, the book on the All Blacks? You know,
no, I've got it, but I've heard a fair bit
awesome
about it.
read, real good read, and it's all about the culture of the team, and you know, like the senior players not being too big to sweep the sheds and feedback and all this stuff, and taking it on. And we're doing that now as a team, and
Sweeping the shed.
Sweeping the shed.
Yeah, but that's making us go and clean the bus. They just no, it's but it's like all about like you say, taking feedback and stuff. And man, it's there's two things that are really hard. One is taking feedback without taking it personally, and two is thinking something of someone, but actually then having to say it without the, you know, but you're worrying, like, if I actually say this, is this how we're going to move on from that, you know?
So you're worried about the ramification of being honest.
Because there's never clue. I mean, like you say, they're talking about this environment where one guy gets up and everyone gives them the floor right. So you're covered in Teflon now, so nothing sticks. It's not personal. It's like just critiquing this. But like, I remember a race meeting I had after a race. I was after Tour Down in under 1 year, and I was going really well, and then had a shocker, and then it was, you know, like they lined me up and gave me the full critique. And I remember walking out of there like feeling this big, but 2 days later I was over it and I learned heaps. So it was a very productive thing. It was a very, you know, they weren't nasty. It was just boom, 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 you know. And then you go, shit, for the 2 days of feeling like, you know, or the it's a real hard thing to describe it, like the anxiety in a way it gives you or whatever. It is a productive anxiety, but it's very hard to get a young guy to look up to a senior leader or something and say, mate, I don't like the way you do this, a neo-pro in the team or something. So like, I think it's all about like trying to build a culture where you can get a young guy that can speak openly against, or, you know, and it doesn't have to be like a personal thing, but it's a good concept and it's easy to do, but it's easy to sort of say, but I think it's a very hard thing to achieve.
How do you go with it, Bills?
Well, I reckon I was thinking, as athletes, we deal with feedback, positive and negative. George, move your microphone away from your computer a bit. That's a bit of feedback for you.
Oh, that's
getting plenty of feedback on this show.
Careful, he's feeling about that tall at the moment.
He's shrinking in the screen.
Oh.
We as athletes, we deal with feedback almost on a daily basis, like positive and negative, probably even split. And I reckon the most important thing with feedback, well, feedback itself is super important, and a lot of the time it is negative or constructive criticism, you might want to call it. The delivery is what's important, you know. Feedback is completely different if you have the same message and you scream it down somebody's throat and make them, like George said, feel this big. But if you sit in a calm and collected environment where everybody's emotion, most important thing with bike racing is letting the emotions settle. So if something goes wrong in a race, a decision's been made by the director or the riders on the road, and it was the wrong decision, and we paid the price for that. Everybody's pissed off, everybody's disappointed, everybody's emotions are really raw when you get on the bus. So what's important is that you let everybody cool down a bit. And we do this, our bus is sort of our safe haven where you can effectively say whatever you like. And when you get off that bus, we move forward. But what's really unique and cool about the way we operate in our team is the way the feedback is delivered. So it's delivered when everybody's calmed down, and it's delivered in a respectful way where you can point out the mistake that was made, but you just deliver it in a way where people go, and they take it on board. They sponge it in rather than just throwing darts and popping balloons. That's not the way to give feedback.
Because that's why you do it. You're trying to do it because you care. Like you're trying to.
How do you go, Jonsey, when someone's commenting? You know, like the worst kind of feedback. This is the worst feedback that exists. Is is people commenting on the internet or whatever, like leaving comments on
Yeah.
YouTube. Like, mate, what is it?
Oh, oi! There goes the It's rattled.
There's
That
a
feedback's rattled him.
The best thing that George could ever do is put a set of headphones on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but do you know where my headphones are? I'm not lying. I got Lucas Hamilton here lifting weights, and I just gave him my headphones to listen to music.
Well, that's important. I remember I got feedback from Matt Wilson in 2014. We were on the bus, and it was 3 days at a punter, I reckon. And we're going to the start, and he looks at me and goes, Jonesy, geez, I've been thinking about this for a while, mate. I reckon the backstage passes, they're just getting stale. And I remember like, I didn't take that well. I think,
Yeah, fucking what?
yeah, my response was, oh, well, go and get fucked. I said, mate, you try and do them. Like, they're not fucking easy. And then it turned into this whole, like, calm down. Just constructive, mate. Like, you're doing all I'm saying is they're the same fucking format every week. Like, you do your intro, you go out on the road, you play some bloody 80s ballad from Australia, like Chisel or what are they? And then you go to the finish, you do your rap, do some bloody stupid jokes, and that's it. All I'm saying is, you need to mix it up. And to his credit, I needed to hear it because it forced me, like, same thing. It was raw at the time. I'm thinking, piss off, Wilson. But then I calmed down, and then I was like, well, what is it that you think that people want? And he said, well, try and make something more epic. Try and make something like a proper doco, with slow-mo and take the pace off it a bit if you have to. So then we changed and started doing these director's cuts and we started at Flanders, and it forced me to do like voiceover and all these things that I never would have done. I probably would have been stuck in my ways. And then when I did All for One, it was so valuable having, even the way I shot stuff was different because you're thinking in a different mindset and you're thinking like, I had so much Roubaix footage when Jules, you boys were training. Remember when you just rode past, I was doing a slow-mo of one of the signs out, like, was flashing a Mooney.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, it was great. But even, like, I was just thinking of it then, Bills. I remember having a chat with you at one of the early training camps, and I put on a lot of weight. Like, I was a real yo-yo. I'm only starting to knock it on the head by getting back into running now, but I was real yo-yo with my diet, and I would balloon out, and I could put on 5 kegs at the drop of a hat. I remember you sat me down, Bills, instead of saying, mate, your man boobs are getting out of control. You need to do something. You're going to drop dead of a stroke. I remember you said, we'd had a couple of beers. You're like, Josie, mate, like, a few of the boys, like, we're a bit worried about you, eh? I go, what? And I remember you go, every time we stopped, you had to get lollies, or you had to get a pie, or mate, you don't need that shit. Like, we're worried about you because, we don't want to see you drop dead in like 2 years or something like that. And I remember it was at that moment I was like, am I really that fat? And I reckon it was around the time that constantly I'd be splitting the ass out of me jeans. Shirts just wouldn't fit. You get that gut overhang with a bit of flappiness at the bottom of your t-shirt. But it was good feedback, Bills. But as you said, it's the way you deliver it.
I remember that. I remember that day. We were in Beechworth. And
that's it.
Yeah, and we stopped at the Beechworth Bakery on a training ride, and like all the boys got a coffee and a sandwich or something, and you got like a few different flavour pies, a snag roll, and next door to the Beechworth Bakery was the Beechworth like lolly store, sweet store or whatever.
That's
and
it.
You went and bought like 2 kilos of lollies. And
That's it.
I remember you walking out of that sweet store with these bags of lollies, with the smile on your face, and I was like, I got to say something here.
Need a chat.
But like you say, like Jonesy, like when you get given feedback, as hard as it can be to hear, the delivery is important. But when you're given feedback from a peer or a friend or a family member, it's because they care. Exactly that. They care. And sometimes it's hard for them to give you that feedback because it's going to hurt them a little bit. But you do it because you care. Like exactly why I did it, because I cared.
Well, here's one for you, Bills, then. feedback on a friend's partner, which we touched on slightly last night. At what point is it too late to give feedback on your friend's choice of partners?
When they're married with kids, it's probably time to back away.
So that's the limit.
Yeah,
Until then, it's big. Until then, everyone's open for critique.
Well, I important because we had this discussion last night, and like if you just meet a girl, say in a bar or something, and you end up going, oh, she's a cool chick, and you start hanging out with her, and you don't know her from a bar of soap. You've been spending 2 weeks with her or a month with her, and you introduce her to the friends. At that point, I think especially if your friends like say they know the girl, and they come in and they say, look, mate, this isn't the girl for you, like we know her pretty well, and mate, it's going to get rough. I'm telling you right now. I think you should be very, very careful what you do here. At that point, you've got a decision to make, because you effectively have to pick a side, and you have to say, if you go, nah, get fucked, man, I like her, she's a cool chick, I'm into her, I'm going to crack on with this. In the back of your mind that your friends are thinking, oh, mate, she's a dickhead. And at that point, you've chosen a side. You have chosen a side. And your friend group might suffer from that. So if it was me in that situation, I'd probably would go like, well, there's some serious red flags here. What side do I want to pick?
What are the red flags that are enough for you to say abort? Like, it's generally the number one problem mates have with mates' girlfriends is access. When they start taking over this guy's routine, and you go, mate, there is no reason why you can't come out tonight, because you've done 2-3 weeks in a row by being Mr. Lapdog, and you can't get a pass for one night. That's probably the number one reason. But is there any other ones where you'd go, apart from if you know that it's foul play? I mean,
oh yeah.
I
don't know. For me, it would be like some, like I've seen with a few of my friends or something. Like they meet a girl, and what's happened in one situation was like, they have a very strong idea, whether it's like, let's say religion. For one of the examples was religion, and they weren't religious, and part of the condition of them being together was that that he would have to become religious, and you knew he wasn't religious. You knew he was whatever, and for me,
a sinner.
Yeah, he was living in sin. This guy, he was a very he was in sin. And,
needed to get cleansed out.
That was the thing, and that was like, he's like, yeah, but I'm fully in for this. But I was like, mate, you pretending to be a religious now to be with her. So that was one of the red flags.
Wasn't Izzy Folau, was it?
Legend.
Well, yeah, no, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Have you ever, Bill's, been told by mates that conversation, or have you been on the other foot where you've told a mate, hey, mate, it's no good?
I've had a mate who had a girlfriend that I didn't click with. I don't know if I ever said anything. Like when I was the guy that, when they broke up, about 5 seconds after he told me they'd broken up, I was like, oh, thank fuck for that. She's a dickhead. So like that's risky in the same sense, because
that's
at
real
that
risky.
point you don't know if there's going to be a reconciliation or something there, and then all of a sudden your mate's like, oh mate, we're back together, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh well,
you're not invited to the wedding.
Yeah, that is risky.
I don't think I've ever been on the receiving end of it.
Offshoot of feedback from the sporting world, though, where we started this. So,
well, you had a relationship incident the other day, didn't you, Jonsey, regarding feedback?
Oh yeah, what was that over the dinner? Yeah, I just got to the point where it's like I do a lot of the cooking here, and I cop feedback all the time. And then Sarah had a crack. She made this chicken sort of thing with salad, but the chicken tasted like shit. And
was it medium rare? Was it?
No, it was too spicy. Like, it was one of these pre-spice packs that was sort of frozen, and anyway, it wasn't much chop. And so I got this thing where if you cook the meal and say it's a bit off, you're going to finish it just for, sense of pride. So Sarah wolfed hers and could see I was sort of battling through mine. I just thought, you know what, bugger it. I think COVID as well, you got a bit more front. And I just said, nah, I can't do this. She goes, what? You didn't like it? I said, nah, that's not one of your finest. And it was too honest. It was too raw. But
so your delivery was off. I mean, your content was good, but your delivery was wrong.
Exactly. If I'd have said, listen, I really appreciate the effort. It was cooked beautifully, but the taste was rat shit. Probably would have gone down a little bit better. But
I cooked a paella for a group of mates a couple of weeks ago.
I think I saw that on Instagram.
And this is a good example of delivery. So I cooked this paella, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I'd made it the first time in my life a week prior, and I followed the ingredients, followed the recipe, and I put 2 chilies in the paella. But I made like a massive paella. Like for one person, it was enough to feed 5 people, which is what I need to do in this situation. So I knew that. I realized that. So I didn't double the recipe or the ingredients or anything. I just cooked the same amount of ingredients as I'd cooked for myself a week prior. But for some reason, I thought, oh, mate, I was cooking it in the same pan, everything the same. But for some reason, I thought, oh, there's more people, so I need to put more chilies in. So the only thing I doubled was the chilies. And I chucked in like 4 or 5 chilies as opposed to 2. And then got to the time of eating it, and it looked bloody beautiful. And everyone's like, oh, mate, awesome job. Can't wait to give this a try. And you could just see them all, like, as they're eating it, it's just beads of sweat just, like, rolling down their face. and then I was like, oh, so what do you guys reckon? Meanwhile, my mouth was going, that's hot. And then
milk.
They were like, look, mate, the flavors are beautiful. I love the flavors. It looks great. But, mate, I can't fucking eat this. It's too hot. Did you put TNT in here or something? So at that point, I knew, look, they love it. They really enjoy it. They like the flavors. It's just too spicy. So I made it again a few nights ago for a different group of friends, and feedback was taken on, and the chilies were reduced, and boom, there you go.
I'm not a big fan of hot food. And remember, they always said the gag, it's going to burn the next day. That's actually true, isn't it? When you eat something really hot, when you pump it out, it burns.
I think
I remember having
acclimatization.
Yeah,
I remember me and my old man, and he listens to this podcast as well. So we always have a bit of a session before I leave to Europe at the end of the New Zealand summer. So the last night before I leave, the old man and I always crack in a couple of beers and just have a yarn. It's quite fun, we would put on some old music and talk about different things, and it's always fun. And a couple of years ago, we decided we were going to get pizzas. So we smashed through like a fair bit of piss together, talking shit, and like a couple of spicy pizzas.
Even number of cans?
Yeah, even number of drinks. And I remember my old man in the morning, before he took me to the airport, he's like, oh, mate, pizza and beer. Whew, it's not good, eh?
Ken, he's our next guest, isn't he, Ken?
It'd be good to get him on, eh?
Oh, he'd be great. I love the Chewy Zero.
We should do a Father's Edition.
Yeah, I'll get the emu on.
Yeah.
Tell some old games.
My old man and the emu get on like a house on fire.
They spent Roubaix together in this car and almost belted a French copper, I heard.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let him onto the race route, and they almost got out and belted him with a GoPro.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen the footage. It's so funny.
That doesn't surprise me with Sam's dad. I remember one day he told me the story. He goes, oh, you know what I used to do every Friday night, finish work, go down to the bank, get a roll of coins. Goes, oh, what do you need a roll of coins for?
He listens to this.
I know. He'll love the story. And he said, Georgie boy, you put them in your hand, and those big bastards, you hit them with that, they don't get back up. So I said, oh, you weren't using them for the vending machines. Yeah.
Hey, right hook responsibly, folks. Jeez, what a
Lead with
Hey,
legend.
should we get on to do we actually have anything? Are we going to do a Legend of Bellend? Or are we going to
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah. Who you got, Bules?
Well, I reckon we start with in the respect
we'll just
of
do one, eh?
equality.
Should
All right.
we just do one today? Because we've got a 38
What
minutes.
have we got? We've got a lunch to get to.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, chug through it.
Not for a while. I reckon so. In respect of equality, I reckon we need to do our first female guest, and I mean we've done Ellen, but like
Wow.
Yeah, we ripped her a new one. That was quite
So-
respectful. Hope she took that on as feedback on board.
I want to do J.K Rowling today. So
Yeah.
everyone knows who J.K Rowling is. She's obviously the author of the Harry Potter books, which have been made into blockbuster movies. And she's in hot water again. She's been having a little rant on Twitter. She's quite well known for these Twitter rants. And so she the other day she retweeted an article, and the title of the article was an opinion article, and it said, "Creating a more equal post-COVID-19 world for people who menstruate." So she's clearly meaning women. And then
I got that, mate. Thanks.
so she's then followed it up with a couple of tweets. And the first one was, "If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and I love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. The idea that women like me, who have been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived..." This is a shit tweet.
God, this is shit reading.
Yeah,
You've missed,
it started strong.
Yeah,
Some
but when he tried to
feedback.
say empathetic and he came out with empathetic or something.
Okay, this is a different one. This is a better one.
All right.
"I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the bias of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say." She then responded with another tweet, and it was followed up by an article in the Sun newspaper from her ex-husband who had hit her during their marriage. And the title of the article was, "I slapped her and I don't regret it." And that copped a lot of backlash from
Well,
the
she has a
local.
restraining order against him. I just read this morning
Yeah.
because he is a.
So he wrote, that was the title of his article.
Yeah. And this is quite a good tweet, I reckon. It said, it makes a bit of sense. "So I want trans women to be safe. At the same time, I do not want to make natal girls and women less safe. When you throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, and as I've said, gender confirmation certificates may now be granted without any need for surgery or hormones, then you open the door to any and all men who wish to come inside. That's the simple truth." And that is true, because she's talking about domestic violence and stuff. And if you say, like, if a guy decides he wants to identify as a woman, then he's saying, "I should be able to go into the women's bathrooms." Well, I don't know.
I feel
Oh,
like the
yeah.
problem with this is, with these kind of things, is every, say, group sees every issue through their own lens, only through their lens. So, like, just because, like, let's say J.K. Rowling is, she's quite obviously a strong feminist. She's done, she's done great things for, empowering women, and she still does a lot to do it. But then you see, like, transgender group, they see every action as opposed to, instead of going, "Oh, that's good for young girls," or her actions are good for keeping young girls safe, or whatever. They see it through. Everyone has to see it through a lens of how is this affecting, or how is this an outcry toward? How is this discriminating our group? Because we've been discriminated against. We've been discriminated, and it is all looked at through a lens as opposed to like a helicopter view where something can just be a helpful statement and it doesn't have to offend everybody else around it. But like they even have an expression for J.K. Rowling. They like the transsexual community. I don't know. We're going quite deep into the trans community here, but they call a trans. They call her a TERF. And that was like the start of a thing. And a TERF is an acronym for a trans exclusionary radical feminist. I mean,
my brain's hurting.
I mean, what is it like? If
you're right, George.
There's such an issue. I mean, there's how many trans exclusionary radical females out there that they've had to come up with an acronym.
Yeah.
For this. I mean, is this a problem? I mean, maybe we know nothing about this.
Okay,
I mean, we do know nothing about this, but
so I need to wrap my head around what got JK to the point where she goes, I've had a fucking gut full of this. I need to get on Twitter and I need to let everyone know that, hey, you're a bloke or you're a woman and that is it.
No, but I don't think that's not what she was saying. I think that's what they've taken it to say. But I don't feel like, okay, I'm definitely open to the fact that I could be completely wrong here, but I didn't take it to mean that what she was saying.
No, I agree. Like she's been accused of. She's in the headlines now. She's been accused of being transphobic. I don't think she is. Like you say, George, there doesn't always have to be an opposition to everything you say.
Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know, but maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's such a minefield. I mean, I think we're walking into this after on a Sunday with completely uneducated on it, really. Like all I'm saying from a layman or from a just a person that's not hugely involved, when I read that, I didn't take that to mean that she was attacking transgender people, and I also feel like as a far left leaning woman that she would be very open to that kind of stuff.
You know what this podcast is? It is sure as shit not expert opinions.
Oh.
This is three guys at the corner of a pub trying to unravel what the fuck is going on in the world.
What the hell
every week. We don't have the answers. We don't know. Yeah. We got opinions that don't mean shit. And take it or leave it. And with JK, I can't wrap my head around what the fuck's going on. What is this problem?
Sports podcast?
What is
Why
that
are we
fucking?
About
what is this problem? What's the problem now? She doesn't hate transgender. She'll fucking march for them, but they're pissed off calling her fucking surf and turf. What the fuck's going on? Just stick to making Harry Potter books. Stick to writing fucking fiction with capes and spells and potions, and just shut the fuck up. Like that's what we need to do. No one has the right to have an opinion anymore because everyone gets pissed off. Exactly what you said, George. So make your Harry Potters and just shut up and move on.
You're remembering that horse race. You're going through that horse race again, aren't you, right now? You've just remembered that you lost 30 grand last night. You've suddenly just gone, fuck.
That's potentially the funniest moment I've ever sat through on this podcast.
It's true, though. Like, I was trying to have a chat with Sarah before the show, and she goes, who are you talking tonight? Who's the legend or bell? And I go, J.K. Rowling. She goes, oh, my God. Don't get me started on her. I was like, what? What's she done? Oh, she's teed off on the transgender stuff. And I'm going, explain. Like, what's going on? And then she's explained for half an hour at the end. I'm going, hang on, did she really tee off there? Like, that doesn't I'm confused. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It is confusing.
What she's saying, in layman's terms, what she's saying is that everybody has the right to do what they want to do. If a man wants to dress as a woman and think that it's a woman, go for it. No worries. Same. All of us feel the same. Like, it doesn't affect us in any way. So I don't have a problem with it. Absolutely not. But what she is saying is that If you choose to identify as a woman and dress as a woman, at the end of the day, you're still going in for a prostate exam. You know, like
Oh right, yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you're still a man.
Yeah. And so the fact that she's even referring to that you're a man when they've openly said they want to be a woman is the issue.
Yeah.
If they want to be called a woman, you have to call them a woman. Where she's going, no, I'm still going to call you a man.
Oh well, I mean,
what
people
you
can be
say?
called what they want to be called. You know, really, I'm not going to.
But you know, the other thing is, George, is I don't tend to give too much of a shit about people's issues if they don't directly affect me that much. You know, like if I'm not going to get wound up because I've got enough issues. I've got to worry about
races.
the taste of the chicken on a Thursday night. You know, like horses that roll me for 30K. There's enough bigger stuff in the world.
Exactly. Like saying, Jonesy, is your point is that exactly this world of transgender, gay marriage, whatever, all that stuff, it doesn't affect any of us. So why should we care? And we don't.
I get in the car.
The thing is, I do care that I do care. No, I disagree though. I'd say I do. Like you think about 30 years ago, it was illegal, or 50 years ago in New Zealand, it was still illegal. I mean, you got to care. I care that these people are getting, you know, traditionally have been getting completely like rolled and discriminated against and everything. But I mean, I think what you mean is when you say you don't care, you mean you don't care what they do.
No, I mean,
exactly. I don't care if they want to do that.
Yeah. If they want to live like that and they want the respect,
I can just see someone snacking that line. The difference between I don't care or I don't care what they do or get up to or whatever is massive. Like that one.
Oh yeah, no, I'll clear that up. I don't.
Yeah, you better clear that up because I can see someone going.
I don't care in a you can't do this. I don't care in like go for it, have fun, do whatever you got to do. You're not hurting me.
But that's an important
clarification. I don't care if they want to do it. If they want to do it, go for it. Absolutely. And the point is, if that's how we feel, why does J.K. Rowling, like you say, Jonesy, why does he need to go public about it? Like, who cares? I'm not going to write a tweet about it. I'm not going to write a tweet saying, "Hey guys, I support gay marriage." I do, but I don't. I just support it by just letting people do it.
Is it? I don't know. The thing is this happens a lot when you get to a level of one. She's got 14.5 million people on Twitter. She's filthy rich. She's got a massive influence on, you know, people following what she's doing. It must change your mindset, really. You must feel obliged to feel that you need to pass on your opinions. Like, and you need to.
I think like for me at least, the more people you have tuning into you, the less inclined you are to make your opinions known because there's always.
Is this why you're doing a podcast?
Yeah, that's why I started a potty. And that's why I sit on the fence and just let you guys.
You're so neutral in all these arguments.
Yeah. I am a very neutral.
But at the end of the day, I think it's starting to get like, I think just generally I'm starting to go, well, I don't know what is going on in the world anymore. Like, have you seen the backlash? They've deleted so many shows on Netflix now. We had this Chris Lilly who did.
Chris Lilly, that was gone. Do you know what was really wrong with that? Was with they took out a Faulty Towers episode, like I think it was the last episode of the second season.
Yeah, but don't mention the war one.
Yeah, was it that one?
Yeah,
not sure.
When he was walking around and he's doing the German salute and things.
No.
like that.
We were dropping N bombs basically.
Was he?
Yeah, I don't think it was "Don't Mention the War." I think it was a different one. But I
don't think they dropped N bombs on Faulty Towers.
Yeah, I think they did.
No, they. Didn't.
Okay, Matt. We have to clarify that. But anyway, people can look.
You're getting confused with the Defiant Ones doco or something.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what it was the whole idea of the episode though was to mock people with racist views. You know.
Yeah.
The whole idea was the whole sentiment of the show was anti-racism, and then they give it the flick because people misunderstood it, which is like such a good way to sum up like a lot of the like outcry now is just people take things to mean like, you know, because it said a word or something, even though it was taking the piss out of people that say that word. And it got the flick.
Have they taken down Tropic Thunder yet? Because that's the one that he was nominated for Academy Award Best Supporting Actor, Robert Downey Jr., dressed as a African American with blackface. And if they haven't taken that down, then what is going on? Because
is that why Summer Heights High got the flick? Because Jonah was blackface.
Yep. And look, I get it. That's you can't do that. And on
but it's interesting because as a very person that like tries to be very, you know, I feel one of the more open
as a tree hugger.
Tree hugger, I guess you'd say, or you know, I sit left on of all of this stuff. Is when I never had the impression when I like you see things with the times, like when I watched Summer Heights High, I thought it was one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. You know, people still quote it around like New Zealand, like, and it takes you to look back through the lens of you know. You put the current climate, you put the current like norms onto something that existed 10 years ago, and you go, "Oh, hold on a minute." But it's weird because like, there's so many things you can look back on that were bad at the time, and that's why they're like ripping down all these statues and stuff. Because in the time, those people were heroes, but if you put them in today's norms, they're like, you think, "Geez, you can't do that. What was it? Why are we celebrating this guy?"
So are we in a position where we can even vote on J.K. Rowling? I feel like the segment started real well when I said that she wrote the Harry Potter books, and then I rambled through some punishing tweet that I couldn't even finish, and then I talked about a couple other tweets, and then we just went on a rant about transgender, and then Jonsey let rip about just shut the fuck up and get on with your potions and your wizards and your wands, and then we started talking about Faulty Towers and Basil or whatever his name was, and at some point,
and false accusing you of throwing out the N-word on the show.
That might have been real rogue.
And then we went through Robert Downey Jr.'s list of achievements, and somehow we're going to try and circle back to vote of J.K. Rowling's Legend of Rebellion.
I can't label her bellend for this because I still don't know what the fuck's going on.
I'm going to
I'll vote her a legend because she did the Harry Potters, and I think she's done a fair bit for charity as well, hasn't she?
Yeah, I think she's done a lot for women around the world, and
so you know, just got to polish up your opinions, sharpen your Twitter edges, and
you can just rein it in a little bit, and then you know
she needs a 360-degree feedback session with a few people of transgender preference, and that she can move on.
The personal feedback I'll give myself on that segment is don't try to do research on a legend or bellend or a particular person after you've had 6 pints and then expect to be able to understand what the fuck you've written down the next day when you're talking about it on the show.
Hey, it was racial slurs. I'm just on Google now. So
he's gone to the third umpire. Right. Is it the red or the green light? I seriously reckon you'll run out by a foot, mate.
Hey, but the Germans are still allowed to watch it on BritBox.
They had
no issues with it in Germany.
Yeah, but I think what they've done to keep it restored is they've put a warning at the start saying, listen, there could be some prickly content, you know, that you're about to watch or whatever the actual phrasing is. But there's just a disclaimer at the start now, so they can still show it. So are you saying legend, Bills?
I'll say legend as well, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I'm legend. I've gone down a real wormhole of John Cleese stuff right now. I love this guy.
Oh, what an episode, boys.
Yeah. This is a great ep.
Good to be back. Good to be back. We didn't need the bells and whistles with these cutaway videos or all that. We just need 3 blokes that are hung, that were close to winning 30 grand, that have had a prick of a week. Yeah, that's all you needed.
I got a week
off. Raw.
I just did a race simulation week, and just went
right.
hundies every day on the bike to simulate like a stage race. And now I got a week off, so that's pretty cool.
What do you do with your week off in COVID town?
Gonna go to a barbecue today. We're allowed 50 gatherings of 15 people. So, 15-man barbecue today.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to the same barbecue, and I was the host. He sent me a group message to everybody about what we needed to bring. Mate, he asked me to put 2 kilos of cherries. 2 kilos of cherries.
They're not cheap, or they're not in Australia.
oh, you got away easy. I got 2 bottles of wine and 2 cakes, so I've been making cakes all morning. I just made a banana hummingbird cake. Well, cake and I did the icing.
Jesus.
I would rather go cherries.
I walked into the supermarket, so I stared at the cherries for about 5 minutes, and I just said, "I'm not buying cherries." I bought
How
a
much-
pineapple instead.
How much are they a kilo? How much?
$4.99, €5 a kilo.
Geez, that's a pretty good. I think they're about 50 a kilo over here. It's bullshit.
Yeah, no, I bought a pineapple, a punnet of grapes, and 4 beers, and 3 potato omelets.
Did you tell the host that you're not bringing the cherries?
Yeah,
Huh.
he doesn't speak very good English though, so I don't think he understood me.
All
He
right.
thinks you're bringing 6 kilos of cherries now.
All right, boys. What else do we have on? That'll be it, eh?
That's it. I'm done. I'm leaving. I've had enough.
Good show, boys.
That's a great show.
See ya.
See ya.